This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
In 1994, Disney Animation Studios and star James Earl Jones gave the world a dynamic coming-of-age story that still freaking rules over 30 years later.
In 2024, we try the whiskey that changed the game in the world of bourbon.
The film is The Lion King.
The whiskey is Henry McKenna 10-year single barrel.
And we'll review them both. This is
The Film and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to the Film and Whiskey Podcast, where each week we review a classic movie and a glass of whiskey. I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And Brad, we are a little bit past the halfway point of Season 10. How are you feeling about this revisit of all of our Season 1 films?
Oh, I don't know if you want to hear that, Bob.
This has been fun. Folks, welcome into Film and Whiskey. If this is your first time joining us, where have you been? We are in our 10th season now. We are 300 plus episodes into this bad boy. And what we're doing...
It's wild.
And what we're doing this season to celebrate is we're revisiting all of our really poorly recorded episodes from Season 1, and we're redoing them. So if you'd like to hear us from when we were just little baby podcasters, we've taken those episodes down from the public, but they are still available on our Patreon feed, patreon.com/filmwhiskey. I say that, Brad, to say that the Lion King episode, like many of our latter half of Season 1 episodes, sounds like poop, but the content, oh boy, is it good content, Brad.
the way you said poop.
like an anchor man. You poop mouth. You poop.
That's pretty much.
So I noticed, Brad, that in your little opening spiel, you said that this movie still freaking slaps. And I think that is the place to start when talking about The Lion King. It is a movie that, like many 1990s films, especially for those of us who grew up on 90s films, it is so familiar. It is so ingrained in my childhood and who I am as a person that every time I go to watch it, I wonder if I can properly evaluate it. And this time through, I mean, spoiler alert, I can, and it does slap. But this time through, I think
spoiler alert, I'm awesome at this.
In addition to realizing how much it affected my childhood personally, I really started to pull back a little bit and think about the cultural kind of bomb that went off as a result of this film. You know, we've talked a lot about how this was not like Disney's A-tier movie. They were trying to put people on other films, and The Lion King happened, and then they were like, oh crap, I guess this is the one people want now. They were like putting all their eggs in the basket of Pocahontas. And once this movie came out, there has not been a Disney film since, Brad, at least not that I can think of, that has had quite the impact of this movie.
Dude, this movie just wrecked the world of animated film. I remember watching this just countless times as a child. And you're right, the needle moved so much, it almost redefined like what a 10 out of 10 animated film could be as far as like box office return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I already noticed that you're giving this movie a 10 out of 10. So should we just go ahead and spoil final scores now?
Oh, I don't know if I'm giving it a 10 out of 10, Bob.
This is good. This is good. Tease it, Brad. Make sure the listeners stick around.
No, I'm being serious. So coming back and reviewing all of these season 1 movies again, I have paid special attention to movies that we gave a 10 out of 10 to. And I go into the movie looking for ways to reduce it to a 9.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Just to be honest, like, if it's already at a 10, there's nowhere to go up. Therefore, we have to look how we can tear it down, deconstruct this thing.
We have to. Yeah. It's our moral obligation to tear these things apart.
It's our duty.
I went on record in our first episode on The Lion King talking about how I do think this movie has flaws. And it's hard to parse out for me if the flaws are really apparent or if they would be as apparent if I was a first-time viewer, or if it's just because I'm so familiar with the movie and I'm like, I have every single beat and every line essentially memorized, that the flaws become more apparent on the 50th rewatch, you know? And so this movie is one that I think I'm still in the place where the first time around I gave it a 9.5. And I'll just spoil right now, I can't decide if this is a 9.5 or a 10. That's kind of where I'm at on this, Brad, because it is flawed. And I think that this is no surprise to you, but Beauty and the Beast is a movie that I think both of us at the time we reviewed that movie said, this is about as perfect and as perfectly structured and as perfectly paced as an animated movie can get. And I do still think Beauty and the Beast is a more perfect film. But I've also come around to the idea that you can have flaws and still be a 10 out of 10 film.
Yeah, 100%. There's no such thing as a perfect movie because cinema is such a subjective art. Mm-hmm. Like the director might say that my film is a perfect film. I'm sure Zack Snyder says that for every one of his movies. But we all know that it all depends on the viewer. And so, sure, you have lots of Christopher Nolan fanboys out there that are going to give his movies 10 out of 10, run the score up on IMDb. That's great. You do whatever you want. At the end of the day, you're going to find problems with any film you watch. The real question is, what is your metric that makes something a 10 out of 10? And I personally will accept if somebody says, it just did it. Like if somebody says to me, I don't know why this is a 10 out of 10, I can say that here are some flaws, but it just worked for me. I can't fully say why. It's something intangible, ephemeral. It's something that just I can't quite put my finger on, but it worked for me. I'm actually okay with that. I don't think we should have perfect measurables for rating art.
Well, then what are we doing here, man? We've been giving stuff scores for 10 seasons. Are you losing faith in our metric, Brad?
No, it's just a vibe. Like
it's just vibes. Like, this movie's just vibes, dude.
Here's the thing. A movie can be technically well done, and if it doesn't pass the vibes check, it's going to be like a 7 out of 10 at best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong, though.
On the other hand, a movie can totally pass the vibes check and be objectively a crappy movie. And those are the best movies.
Those are the best movies, man. Mighty Ducks. Let's go.
That's definitely a vibe. All right, dude, let's get into our first segment of the day, which we call Brad Explains.
Brad's gonna give us the movie plot with only 60 seconds ticking on the clock. So let's go ahead and hear your take with this little segment that we call Brad Explains.
Brad Explains is the part of the show where Brad breaks down the plot of the film that he has just seen, often for the first time. This season, definitely for at least the second time. Brad, if you had to put a number on the number of times you've seen The Lion King, I mean, take an educated guess here.
I mean, I was never a watch a movie over and over and over and over and over until my parents want to murder me kind of kid.
Sure.
So if I'm being honest, I probably have seen this movie like 12 to 15 times.
That's got to be like right up there at the top of the Brad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. I've seen this movie a lot of times. Of those, let's just say 15 times. Of those 15 times, probably 12 or 13 as a kid. Like maybe once as a teenager, once early for the podcast, and once again now. So like, maybe 3 times in my adult life.
All right. Well, I want to share a little bit about my most recent viewing of The Lion King after you break down the plot of this movie, but I won't step on Brad Explains any longer. Brad, you get 60 seconds on the clock to spoil everything about this movie. Folks, if you have not seen The Lion King, again, what are we doing here? Go watch The Lion King. It's like an hour and 25 minutes without credits. It's great. Come back and then listen to Brad explain the whole thing Brad, 1 minute on the clock and go.
The Lion King is a film about a monarchy of lions ruled by Mufasa. His evil son Simba seeks a way to dethrone him and eventually has him tossed off of a cliff into a herd of stampeding wildebeests. His uncle Scar sees this happen, tries to save Mufasa, is unable to, but is successfully able to drive Simba off from the Pride Lands to try and protect the rest of the tribe from the evil machinations of Simba. Simba eventually returns with a massive army of hyenas, wipes Scar and the rest of the lions off the face of the map, and rules with an iron fist for the rest of eternity, ending the circle of life.
Written by Scar. That was the Brad Explains from the perspective of Scar, right?
Yes.
This evil 5-year-old has ruined everything in this kingdom, man. Speaking of 5-year-olds,
oh man, go watch Lion King.
Let me talk about this. Since the last time we watched The Lion King, my kids were far too young. Actually, the first time we watched The Lion King, I only had, I think, one child. So, spoiler alert,
I didn't have any.
I've got 2 of them now, and
yeah, let's go.
That's a lot of kids, isn't it? And my oldest son is like very sensitive to scary things. Like he doesn't like watching things where people die or things die. And so The Lion King was always one that was like,
your youngest son, though.
He's like, show me the murders, Dad. So I finally got them to the age where I tried Beauty and the Beast out. And again, like Beauty and the Beast, I associate with this is a movie for like 3-year-olds and up, But hey, guess what? It's really not if they're not prepared for it. So
kill the beast.
I got them to watch Beauty and the Beast. They liked it. And then I was like, we're doing The Lion King. And I said, I got to watch it for the podcast with Uncle Brad. And they both watched it. They both liked it. Enough time passed that we didn't end up recording the revisit for The Lion King that we watched it again. They still like it. Like, this has been such a great couple weeks, Brad, because I have introduced The Lion King to my children. And boy, howdy, do I have some thoughts on how dark this movie is, dude.
Bro, that's what happens when you watch movies with your small children. Like, come on, man.
Again, it's so familiar that you forget the extent to which it is like perversely dark. It goes to places that, quite frankly, no other Disney movie is willing to go. And especially anything made after like 2010. The villains are a joke at this point. Everybody's like superpower is that they're overcoming some sort of trauma. It's like, no. Like, my uncle murdered my dad in front of me and then blamed me, gaslit me into thinking it was my fault and drove me out of the kingdom until I almost died, then starved and beat my mother in front of me until I threw him to hyenas to get viciously attacked to death. Like, that's the plot of this movie, dude.
It's wild. I also like how you tried to like rewrite my Brad Explains.
I'm trying to reframe it. I don't,
trying to lead people astray from what this movie is actually about.
I do want to talk about how dark the movie is, but maybe we should just start at the beginning of the film, because the beginning of this film is up there with films like Raising Arizona, another of Brad's favorites in terms of best openings to a movie ever. And I say that
that was a pretty great opening.
The Circle of Life. Obviously, everybody knows it as like it's a banger of a song. When the drums kick in at the end, it's incredible. It is one of the best examples of how to use montage in filmmaking that I've ever seen. And not just like, when we think of montages, I think sometimes we think of Rocky Balboa training. Like you just put 18 clips of Rocky running up a mountain together and that's your montage.
But specifically bearded
Rocky Sylvester
Ford
Stallone.
Balboa.
Sure, of course.
Oh,
that goes without saying. But in this movie, it's not just a collection of clips that are put together to music. There's the sense of movement. There's the sense of you get like immediately ingrained into the fact that this is an epic tale. And I don't mean epic in terms of like, oh, that's epic. Like it is quite literally, it feels like you're being set up to watch one of the great myths. There is something like legendary and mythical about it. Even from the very beginning, when Simba's being held aloft by Rafiki and a freaking sunbeam comes out of the sky, and you start to understand there's going to be like spiritual, supernatural elements to this film. It communicates so much in so little time that I feel like the rest of the movie almost has to try to catch up to the cinematic heights you've achieved in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're like waiting for the Holy Spirit to descend upon Simba and a voice to call out, "This is my son, who I
mean, it literally does that at one point.
I know. Dude, when they're in the montage and they have the ants crawling on the log.
Yes.
And the zebras in the background and the camera focus switches, and you're like, I thought this was animation.
Brad, listen, this is my one big thing for the day. If I can share something about the world of filmmaking with Film and Whiskey Nation today, I want to talk about what it means when we say the term rack focus. Rack focus is a technical term. When you are watching a shot in a movie and say everything in the foreground is in focus and everything in the background is out of focus, and then halfway through the shot, it changes. It pulls your eyes to the back, and now all of a sudden everything that's close to you is out of focus. That's called racking focus. And this movie does that so well. You know, for a long time, traditional Disney animation was made on plates. They would like basically paint on glass, and they would stack them on top of each other and move the camera in and out. And that's how you would give the illusion of depth perception. This movie really took it to a whole other level in terms of being able to like separate those plates, rack focus with the camera. And they do it multiple times in this movie. And that was like the first time watching it through, the ants and the zebras, that I was like, oh, okay. Like, I love me some Beauty and the Beast. This thing is doing some cinematic things that Beauty and the Beast could have only hoped for.
Yeah, the idea that they can do that with an animated film is still like a little bit mind-boggling to me. Like, I know that I'm a little bit of a simpleton when it comes to technology. I'm still somebody who thinks that like radio wave technology is one of the coolest things in the world, and we're like 7 steps beyond that. Mm-hmm. But man, it's incredible what they are able to do in this film. And even just some of the close-ups, like I'm thinking about when Rafiki thumbs over Simba after Simba supposedly dies. Mm-hmm. Like, even just the animation of the painting being like smudged feels almost like Pixar level quality of those intricate close-up shots of like small particles. And this is 1994.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was like rudimentary computer animation being used in these movies, but it's nothing like what they can do at Pixar now. You know, when you watch WALL-E and you see WALL-E going through these abandoned streets kicking up dust, it's photoreal. And they're doing it with traditional animation here. But Brad, going back to that Circle of Life montage just for a second, I really do think, you know, there's a program every year called Ebert Interruptus. It was a thing that Roger Ebert did. I think it's at the University of Colorado that he would do this every year. They would pick one movie. Roger Ebert would host this big compendium, and everybody would come watch this movie. And you're allowed to tell Roger Ebert to pause the movie at any time. It would take them like 2 days to get through a movie.
I would say watching is a strong term.
Yeah. But you could say, you know, check out this thing in this shot. Look at how look at the symmetry in a Wes Anderson movie. Look at how it's panning back and forth, whatever. Now our friend Josh Larson is the one that hosts that every year. And I really think you could do an interruptus on just the Circle of Life montage, because every single shot is so perfectly placed, whether it's designed to cut on movement to the next shot, whether it's like there's one shot where there's 4 elephants that are trumpeting at once, and they're arranged in like a diagonal from the bottom to the top of the frame on like a Dutch angle kind of. It is just such picture perfect movie making. And it kind of makes sense, because like you can design whatever you want when you're animating. Like, why not make every shot perfect? But you know what? That's not what happens with most animated movies. And I think it's worth noting when they put that much care and attention into it here.
And like the definition of epic is when the Circle of Life montage ends and they just give you this whoomp, and like that final drum beat with the red title on a black background. Oh man, that it's like a chills inducing moment.
I think that the first 40 minutes of this movie are like picture perfect. I would not change one jot or tittle of this script or this movie until Timon and Pumbaa come. And I know this was my big thing last time, but like, if you just take everything that leads up to that moment, it is like, it's intense and it is perversely dark, but it has this perfect effect of like, things are spiraling very quickly and everything logically flows from the prior scene. There's no fat on it whatsoever. And as you're watching Scar's plan unfold, I think the thing that really got me this time, Brad, is put yourself in the shoes of a viewer in 1994. Disney had never let their animated movies go to places like this. And so when you're watching Scar, you have in your mind like every Disney villain ever. Like, oh yeah, Gaston might come for the beast, but he's going to get thrown off the side of a mountain at the end of the movie. And so you're thinking like Scar's going to get thwarted somehow. And then not only does Scar succeed, like the crushing blow of what happens to Simba after that is like, holy shit, this movie is screwed up, dude.
Yeah. Well, especially because they do such a good job of setting up Scar as this like languishing, buffoonish, brother of the king. That's like, oh, you made me lose my lunch. Oh, like it's this ridiculous, over-the-top, cartoonish performance that feels appropriate to what Disney villains were before this.
Mm.
And then, by the end of the film, you have him as Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
like it's a wild transition.
It is. Let's talk about irons for a second, because after the Circle of Life, the first thing you fade up on is a little soliloquy by Scar where he's talking to this mouse that he's caught to eat as a snack. He's talking about, I'm never going to live to be king. He gets called out by Mufasa for not showing up to Simba's presentation. He challenges Mufasa to his face. And from there on, you understand, like, okay, this is clearly the bad guy. But his plan gets put in motion pretty much immediately. He's preying on Simba and Simba's trust. And I think that, like, Irons is so great because he is at 110 the whole movie. He's not even operating at like 100%. He is so hammy and so over the top. But this character honestly wouldn't work if he wasn't the hammiest character in the whole movie.
No, it works because you're looking for a character who is more manipulative than he is powerful. And so I think that's why when he's being ridiculous with the food, when he's double talking to Mufasa, like you see little hints of the evil coming out, but he always masks it so well behind this guise of like, I'm world weary. I don't really care about this whole thing anyways. Like, I've just accepted my lot in life for what it is. And it's not until you see him with the hyenas that he really lets his inner demons come out.
So I think I've already kind of hinted at it, but I think the thing that I love so much about this movie is that it leverages the fact that you don't know how dark it's going to get. And they really kind of toy with you as an audience member as a result. Like, to your point about how buffoonish Scar sounds, you think it's like your typical Disney villainy. And right in the middle of this scheming plan of Scar, you get this really happy, joyous song plopped in there in I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Which, it underscores why Scar hates this kid anyway, because this kid's cocky as hell, but he really wants to be king. And I think for me, the reason that song works in a way that like some of the Timon and Pumbaa stuff gets a little bit old for me is because, once again, like the directors of this movie are kind of toying with you. They're offsetting how dark this movie's about to get by kind of misdirecting you with this really happy song. Not to mention the fact that the song slaps, obviously, and I love the animation style and the way it changes to these like unrealistic colors. But I think just the function of that song, it makes so much more sense there because they're like, hey, look over here. It's something shiny before we kill the dad in front of you.
And it also gives you almost like an I Want song for Simba, but from the view of like I know he's like 5 or 6 in the movie, but like a 12-year-old, right? Like if you had a 12-year-old prince who wants to be king, that would be his I Want song. Like those are the things he desires out of this world. Mm-hmm. And you've already received a hint of the darkness of Scar, and you're about to get a full dose of it. But you start to understand the amount of maturing that is going to have to happen in order for Simba to be the rightful leader of Pride Rock. Mm-hmm. And it's just, like you said, I Just Want to Be King is such an incredible character development device because it sets the bar for where he's at and how far he needs to grow.
This movie is it's such a platonic ideal of a pairing of sound design, music, and then visuals as well. And I think one of the first places I really noticed it is in the following scene when they get caught in this elephant graveyard. And it's the first time like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, like a geyser of steam comes out and you get that like deep bass boom of this steam shooting. And then it cuts to like a Dutch angle of the steam shooting up with the elephant's tusk in the background, and the kids are scared, and it immediately plops you back into like, oh, this can be a very intense movie. And I think that really sets you up for where the movie ultimately goes, which is Scar's big song, Be Prepared, which as a kid, I hated that song. Not just because I hated Scar, but like, I always found it to be kind of a boring song. And now as an adult, I'm like, the lyrics are great. The visuals are great. Like, this song is so good, Brad.
It's incredible, man. Like, the juxtaposition of all of the bright, like, it almost reminds me of what was his name? Saul, the guy who made all the openings.
Oh, Saul Bass.
Saul Bass. Like, there's parts of I Just Want to Be King that remind me of a Saul Bass opening title sequence with the way the colors shift as they're like riding the ostriches past. It's this bright, bubbly, fun thing. And then you get to Be Prepared, and it is like black, gray, green. Mm-hmm. And it's just this super dark, like Slytherin-esque vibe that I'm here for. It's incredible. And Jeremy Irons gives an incredible performance with the singing element here.
I want to share a fun fact about the song, but I don't want to step on. Are any of your 2 facts and a falsehoods about Be Prepared?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, I don't know if you know this, but Jeremy Irons, in the recording of the song Be Prepared, got so much vocal strain that they only used his takes through the end of that second verse where he jumps down, the ground splits open, it's like red underneath him, and he screams, "You won't get a sniff without me." That's the last thing that Jeremy Irons sings in that song. And because his last verse was like unusable, they brought in voice actor Jim Cummings, who's famous for playing Winnie the Pooh, to voice match Jeremy Irons. So that whole last verse is actually Jim Cummings. And he's so good that you can't tell unless you're really listening for it. But yeah, I found that out just a few weeks ago.
Bob, that's not Jim Cummings. That's Winnie the Pooh singing Be Prepared.
How great would it be if he just did Winnie the Pooh, though?
Have you heard him?
So prepare for the coup of the century.
Have you heard Jim Cummings do the Winnie the Pooh voice, but with like completely not Winnie the Pooh lines?
No, but I need to look that up now.
They're pretty great, man. Yeah, I love Be Prepared. I'm with you about the first 45 minutes. Like, everything about the first, half of this movie, a little over half, it flows so easily from one place to the next. Like, the Circle of Life song turns into, oh, here's a predator to the Circle of Life in Scar. And then we get Simba going on his adventure, and then he has his lecture with his dad. And even with the lecture, there's so much beauty there. James Earl Jones is incredible. I do remember thinking, as he's talking about, like, but Dad, we eat the antelope. And James Earl Jones is like, well, son, we turn into the grass someday. I remember I was thinking this time for the first time ever, I was like, yeah, I don't think one dead lion is going to turn into enough fertilizer for this entire
This
plane.
is not balanced. You ate 40 of us, bro.
I feel like the power dynamic is a little bit off. But it's all right. It's a circle of life.
Well, while we're talking about that, let's throw out some more hot takes about the kingdom that Mufasa and then Scar and then Simba rules over. Scar, from one perspective, a master diplomat. I mean, he really does bring the unification of two nations together. And history will look kindly on that, I think.
Dude, here's the thing, though. I never caught this before. But when the hyenas are supposed to kill Simba in the elephant graveyard and fail, Scar is talking to them. And the way the hyenas talk about Mufasa is not like, hey, we want to murder this guy. He's ruining our lives. Like, they actually have, like, this respect for him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, life's not perfect, but we have what we need to survive. And, like, it's almost like they are supporting the circle of life that Mufasa is, like, enforcing on the Pride realm.
Yeah.
And it's, like, Scar is the only one who is trying to upset the balance.
I like to think of it as like the hyenas are the Toronto Raptors the entire time LeBron James was in the Eastern Conference. And they're like, you know, like you keep us across the border from you at all times. Like, man, we hate Mufasa.
Uh-huh.
We hate LeBron. What are we supposed to do? Kill LeBron? Like, it hasn't even come into their mind. Like, because all they do is get freaking owned by LeBron all the time. And it's not till he leaves that they can rise to power.
Dude, I am with you on this analogy, but all I hear you saying is that Canada is the dark place that we don't talk about.
I mean, yeah, I thought that was a given, dude.
Okay. Just
what with their
you were clear on your point
foods
here.
And free healthcare, you know, yeah.
Someday when you're running for president, Bob, this is going to come back to bite you in the butt. And be like, hey, this Robert doesn't understand foreign politics. He hates Canada.
You know who does understand foreign politics, though, is Scar. That was my point. My second hot take, Brad.
Yeah, very clearly.
How susceptible to getting completely overthrown is this kingdom, though? Because when Simba comes back and defeats Scar, Scar is a feeble old man who clearly can't fight. It, like, literally, he gets tossed by Simba one time and he's dead because he gets eaten by hyenas.
Done for.
Now, everyone else in the kingdom are the female lionesses who are emaciated from having no food for God knows how long. And Simba has been living on a strictly vegan diet for like 12 years. So like,
I don't know if bugs are vegan.
I mean, okay, sure. I mean, it's like the veganism of the lion world, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Because they don't call him a carnivore anymore. So like, the first lion that shows up that had protein, like, clearly is the new king of this kingdom, right?
Obviously. Yeah, no. And obviously, the moment that the hyenas kill Scar, they all just are like, yeah, we'll piece back out to the elephant graveyard and hang out there.
I was going to say, like, there's no final battle. They're just like, all right, we got Scar, and now everything's back to the status quo.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I'm just saying, like, the second that some dude bro lion that eats like raw meat and listens to Joe Rogan shows up in this kingdom, like it's a wrap, dude.
I was about to say, because if we're talking about Matthew Broderick as the king,
yeah. Come on,
like,
man.
Come on. My main complaint about this movie is wrapped up in the fact, who the heck decided that Matthew Broderick was the next king of Pride Rock? What was going on there? I know he had some popularity back then, but daggone. Do you know how disappointed James Earl Jones would be if his son grew up to sound like Matthew Broderick?
Yeah. I will say one thing about Matthew Broderick that drives me absolutely crazy. And first of all, I like Matthew Broderick. I like him as Ferris Bueller. He is fantastic as Leo Bloom in The Producers. He's got a great singing voice. He's
dude, incredible in The Producers.
I've never heard a recorded voice performance for an animated movie that lets their actor make so many mouth sounds. And what I mean by that is, Brad, when I'm editing our podcast, every time that you or I start a sentence with like a tongue click where we go, I have to cut that out. It's infuriating to everyone who listens. Matthew Broderick does that for every line. It's like they'll tell him like, okay, say your line now. And he'll go, and then he'll say his line. And they'll be like, Simba, come back to Pride Rock. And he'll be like, sorry. Every single line. It drove me batty, dude. I couldn't get over how many weird mouth sounds he made.
And it's not just the mouth sounds, it's the lack of editing. Like,
yes,
everybody does that. Just edit it out. You're freaking Disney. Like, I know it's the Disney B team, but if you can do rack focuses all day long, you can edit out Matthew Broderick's freaking breathiness.
It is. He's certainly making choices with the way that he's delivering that voice performance. And like, I understand that it is on purpose. I understand that they're trying to show that he's unsure of himself, that he has that sense of youthfulness, because, you know, Broderick does not have like a big booming voice. I just think that it is the most colossal misstep of this whole movie.
Yes. Yeah, easily. And I know you're not a huge fan of Timon and Pumbaa. I think I can get down with Timon and Pumbaa. I actually really like the choices of the voice actors. I enjoy them as characters, even though I still contest that they are the true villains of The Lion King. But you know, that's my thing. I'll die on that hill by myself. I think that Matthew Broderick is the major misstep in this movie, as well as the choice to move from a very sassy black young girl,
yes,
to a very white Nala at the end of the movie.
I mean, like, young Simba is voiced by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, but the singing voice is not white either. He's voiced by Jason Weaver, who I mean, I don't know if you would know this, Brad, but like, I know him from the Jacksons miniseries. He played Michael Jackson. That was a big part of my childhood too. He's got a great singing voice. Everybody goes from being young and black to old and white, and I don't like it. Like, the loss of any sort of soulfulness in their singing voices, in their like voice performances. It is like a big clear ding on this movie. Yeah,
like I said, dude, I don't think James Earl Jones would be happy if his son ended up sounding like Matthew Broderick.
Okay, here's my perhaps my hottest take of all. I think this is James Earl Jones's best singular voice performance. And I'm not trying to say that collectively that Darth Vader is not what he's going to be known for. But if you think about like what Lucas asks him to do emotionally as Darth Vader, you know, Darth Vader's mask, like the mechanics of the mask, I don't know what the lore is, Brad, but I imagine that like it's specifically like so robotic that it literally takes the emotion out of, you know, even in the episode 3 when he screams no, there's not real emotion there because he's speaking through a robot mask.
There's not real emotion there. You're such a hater.
I know, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like, in the world of Star Wars, like, the robotic voice you're hearing isn't the character Darth Vader's real voice. It's his voice as projected through like his Bane mask. You know,
it's modulated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what James Earl Jones is permitted to do here with his range is just, oh my gosh, man, it's unbelievable. And I have this like really great sound setup on my upstairs TV now. I have like the sound bar and the subwoofer. My guy was like rattling my walls with his bass voice. It was incredible, dude.
How do you do that with kids in the house, man?
Yeah, they were watching it with me. They loved it.
Yeah, I guess they were watching it with you. Man, we are thinking about getting rid of our TV. So
like
that
altogether,
we're at.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you, dude, by the time this podcast is over, like, you will be full Amish. You're trending that direction.
I've been legit thinking about getting one of those phones from Techless. Have you heard of those?
Oh, yeah. There's no screen on it. Yep.
Well, there is a screen. It's a smartphone that has no internet like accessibility. Like, you still get GPS. You can still take pictures. You can still text, call. You know, it's got a few basic things. But the main thing is you can't get on the internet. You don't have YouTube, no Instagram. I'm thinking
what
about
I'm
it.
hearing is that all of the things we have to do week to week to promote this podcast are falling squarely on old Bob's shoulders here.
Has it been any different this whole time?
No, it hasn't, but I wasn't going to out you like that. All right, dude, I think we should take a break here. I'm really excited to get into our whiskey for the day, Henry McKenna. As we said, this is kind of a game changer whiskey in the course of our podcast, but in the broader whiskey world, I have not revisited it in a long time. Brad, have you had Henry McKenna since we had it for the show?
Nope.
All right, 10 seasons later, let's see what Bob and Brad think. What do you say?
Let's get to it.
All right, so today we are revisiting a whiskey that has had its ups and downs over the years, and that is Henry McKenna Bottled in Bond Single Barrel Bourbon. This whiskey is, first of all, a mouthful to say. Usually when you refer to Henry McKenna, you can just say Henry McKenna and people know that you're talking about this bottle. But they do actually make a kind of bottom shelf cheap version of Henry McKenna, and it's like a brown label. And that stuff is unpalatable, like real bad. So today we are drinking the good stuff. And when we say the good stuff, you know, what I'm referring to is that this is the whiskey that I would say kind of precipitated the bourbon boom when it was named Best in Show Whiskey at the 2019 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. This was a $40 bottle of whiskey that was beating out, you know, 30-year aged scotches for Best in Show whiskey.
I think it was like $35.
Yeah. It
was back
really
then.
cheap back then.
Yeah.
And, you know, Brad and I have heard our stories about how this whiskey came to be named Best in Show. And it's a very kind of backroom political story that we are not at all at liberty to share. But in any case, it won some awards. And after it won the 2019 award, it was unfindable for like 2 years. Absolutely exploded in popularity and in price.
Oh, yeah.
Brad and I were lucky enough to get our hands on a bottle when we first started the podcast, and that's how we were able to review it. I've only bought one more bottle of this in the years since, and I've revisited it one time since then. It's a good whiskey, but I'm excited to see what we think of it now that we've tried like 500 of them.
Yeah, I'm really curious if you could make a meme of like Henry McKenna being Mufasa and price gouging being Scar, ripping its claws into Mufasa and throwing him into the horde of wildebeests. Because I have a feeling that at $35, this is a really solid whiskey. And at $65, it certainly can be called a whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is the whiskey that kind of caused the damage that we're seeing now to the bourbon industry.
Oh, sure.
In terms of pricing. But at the end of the day, like, even if it is $50-something, it's a $50-something single barrel. That's right in line with the market, and very few of them are 10-year age stated like this one is. So I don't think that it's exorbitant, even for what it is. Brad, let's go ahead and dive into tasting this whiskey. We'll start with the nose. What are you picking up on the nose of this Henry McKenna single barrel?
There's a little bit of cherry on the opening whiff. There is caramel and vanilla. It gets into a really nice peppery phase, the second and third nosing. And I do get like a really nice, gentle peanut brittle that goes along with it. It's a really pleasant nose that I'm going to give it a 7.5 to.
Yeah, Heaven Hill has just really nailed this mash bill. This is like their standard mash bill for a whiskey with rye in it, a high rye whiskey. Kind of the same thing on the other side with their wheated bourbons. So this is, I believe, the same mash bill that we would drink if we were trying the Lux Row products that were a higher rye mash bill. So I already love it. It's everything you would expect from this kind of a mash bill. The rye is like much softer, which I really like. And it brings out some of those dark cherry notes that you were talking about. This is just like a really good middle of the road bourbon whiskey scent. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, and as we move into the palate, the peanut butter really takes the forefront. At 100 proof, the viscosity isn't quite where I would hope it would be. but the peanut butter flavors come through. There's caramel. There's a little bit of like a salted popcorn kind of vibe going on. It's a really pleasant bourbon to drink. I think I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 here.
Yep. You know, like when you get a jar of the natural peanut butter and it has that layer of like peanut oil on top of it.
That's the only peanut butter the G household imbibes in.
Phil, there you go. I was going to say, it doesn't taste like Jiffy peanut butter or Jif peanut butter.
Mm-mm.
It tastes like more of the oil that you get on top. Much more of that kind of natural peanut oil flavor. I really like that. It does coat the tongue, but you're right. It's not very thick. It's a really thin mouthfeel. The spice comes through really nicely, though. The rye makes itself known on the back of the palate, and it drinks a little hotter than I would expect. Honestly, Brad, for 100 proof, I think this is like the perfect bottle of whiskey to jump your game up. You know, like if you've just kind of gotten into bourbon and you're like, I want to try a single barrel or I want to try a 10-year bourbon. This is like, it's not super complex, but it reminds me, I flashed back 5 years to when we were first trying this and we said, oh, this is different than anything we've drank to this point.
Yeah.
Now, have we had better stuff since then? Obviously, but
sure.
It's like nostalgic for me at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm rambling now. I think I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
This has nothing to do with whiskey, Bob, but have you ever had like a friend who has chickens and they give you eggs and like compared that to store-bought eggs?
Yeah, where the yolks are like so much more orange and stuff.
Just like vibrantly yellow, orange. And then you go back to store-bought eggs and you're like, this looks very sad. We keep a small jar of like Kroger brand peanut butter for the dog to like put on their Kong toy. And the color of that peanut butter compared to like Smucker's all natural, you have to stir it up peanut butter, it's the exact same experience, man. The Kroger peanut butter is this like really light brown that feels almost like sickly and wan compared to like real peanut butter. It's wild, man. Nothing to do with whiskey.
I was going to say, are you saying that this is the sad version of like a good whiskey?
I don't think I was making any comment on this whiskey. I think this has a really nice peanut butter flavor. And I'm with you that it's a nice, real peanut butter flavor. The finish is, once again, that salted butter. For the rye, it turns into a really nice, like, black peppercorn, freshly cracked pepper flavor for me. And the caramel flavor matures into this really nice, like, burnt brown sugar on the finish. I'm going to stick at an 8 out of 10 on the finish. It is really pleasant.
I'm going to come down to a 7 on the finish. I had a second sip of this, and it kind of confirmed what happened the first time for me. That cherry flavor turns into, like, an almost Robitussin kind of flavor. There's a little bit of medicinal something going on in there. And I think it's the barley. I think the barley is making itself known. It doesn't quite like tip sour, but it really tempts itself with that. And so I think overall, the finish, while long lasting and fairly pleasant, was probably the worst part of this experience for me. So it's just a 7 for me on the finish. On the balance, I actually think this is a well-balanced whiskey. It knows what it is. And I think that we can get into talking about this part of it with the value, but this is not something that you need to line up around the liquor store to find a bottle of. This is like a really solid single barrel bourbon that should cost $40. And at that, I'm going to read that back onto the balance here. For what it is, it's well balanced. Like, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 on balance.
Yeah, I'm at a 7.5 out of 10 on balance. I think that this offers some really great flavors, nothing too complex, but it's what you would want out of a 10-year single barrel. So 7.5 out of 10 on balance. Here's the rub. This bottle will cost you $65 in the state of Ohio. And I'd say that's representative of what you might find it at in price-controlled states across the nation. There's definitely places in non-price controlled states that you might find this for $80 to $100, and I would say that's just ridiculous. at $65, I think this is about $20 too expensive, Bob.
Agreed. Yeah, just for what you're drinking. Now, again, a 10-year single barrel, I think the only thing I can really compare this to is like a Russell's Reserve, which is similarly priced to this. So I don't think that they're like price gouging you. But I also think that I've had a lot of Russell's Reserve that I like better than this single barrel that we're drinking right now. So I'm with you. Even though it is fairly priced and the whiskey in the bottle, you know, it doesn't scream like you should pay $65 for me.
Yep.
And I do kind of wonder, like, once this whiskey blew up and sold out everywhere, how many barrels that were never intended to become Henry McKenna then had to become designated as Henry McKenna barrels? So, you know, the 2019 stock, I'm sure, was better than this.
Sure.
And that's nothing against Heaven Hill. They're a huge operation. They have plenty of 10-year-old barrels to go around. But I do wonder if it kind of diluted the brand down a little bit.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, this is a really solid 7.5 out of 10 on all of the flavor elements of the scoring. I think that value-wise, if this had jumped with inflation and the bourbon boom, if this had jumped from $35 to $45, I would be 100% like 7.5, 8 out of 10 value. This is a really good whiskey. You should pick it up. At $65, I think I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 on value. It's not a bad bottle of bourbon. You're going to enjoy the experience. You're just paying a premium for a double gold award won 5 years ago.
Now, again, this is not a fair comparison because this is a single barrel, but at this price point, you could get a bottle of Wild Turkey Rare Breed and still have $10 in your pocket. You could get a bottle of Old Forester 1920 and still have a couple dollars in your pocket. I just think that there are better whiskeys out there at the price point, regardless of if they're, you know, age stated to a certain year or if they're a blend as opposed to a single barrel.
Yeah.
So
Woodford Double Oaked.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to give it just a 5 out of 10 as well on value. And that brings me to a 35.5 out of 50. Brad, where are you?
I am imminently higher than you. Just blew you out of the water, Bob, with a 36 out of 50.
All right, so that takes us to a 35.75 on average, or a 71.5 out of 100. Now, again, folks, you might see a 71 and think that this is like a C-level whiskey. I don't think that's true. We always have to factor in the price point and whether people are getting kind of screwed on the price. I think Henry McKenna, the bourbon, is perfectly fine. It's a well above average whiskey. I'd recommend trying it at the bar. You know, if you really want to get a bottle of it for the status symbol, I guess, sure, go ahead. I just think you're paying about $20 too much.
Yeah, I am with you in lockstep on this, Bob. Obviously, we came out to almost exactly the same score. I think we're kind of in lockstep with our movie as well. The Lion King is a hell of a movie, and I'm really glad that we're reviewing it today. How about we get back to that review?
Sounds good, Brad. Let's get to it.
All right, everybody. That was Henry McKenna Bottled in Bond Single Barrel, a whiskey that set the hype train moving in a similar way that Angel's Envy did around barrel finished products.
That's true.
But like,
yeah, good
I
comparison.
Thanks, man. I'd say that I like Henry McKenna a little more than I do Angel's Envy, like in the realm of what it did. But like, you know, it got the train moving. It changed the game as we knew it, helped alter the rules of the deal. But here we are, years and years later, going, man, we've come a long way, because there is some daggone good stuff coming out of Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
That's not just Henry McKenna.
All right, dude. Well, on that note, what do you say we keep this train a-rolling and we get into our next segment for the day, which we call 2 Facts and a Falsehood.
Brad is gonna try to stump you, Bob, to all right and what is wrong. 2 facts and a falsehood.
2 Facts and a Falsehood is the part of the show where Brad presents me with 3 items as fact about the making of this movie, one of which is a complete lie, none of which is about the song Be Prepared. I'm really glad that I checked with you beforehand. Although it would have been
didn't
nice to
say-
just keep it in my pocket and get this right, you know?
I didn't say that one of them was. All three of them are about Be Prepared.
All right, man. Hit me with your 2 facts and a falsehood.
Fact number 1, voice actor Frank Welker provided all of the lion roars for the film. Not a single recording of an actual lion roaring was used because the producers wanted specific sounding roars for each lion. Fact number 2, the wildebeest stampede took Disney's CG department approximately 3 years to animate. A new computer program had to be written for the CG wildebeest stampede that allowed hundreds of computer-generated animals to run, but without colliding into each other. Fact number 3, casting director Andrew Phillips had a difficult time casting the role of Zazu, as both Rowan Atkinson and Chris Rock had tried out for the role. When Rock found out that Atkinson had also auditioned for the role, he graciously bowed out, stating that the role fit Atkinson like a glove.
This is interesting. Okay, so number 2 stands out to me, not necessarily for being false, but I think it was one of the few places in the movie where I could tell that there were some CGI elements. And in particular, it's like when the camera pans, or not even pans, it like lifts up to reveal the wildebeests on the like plateau above. You can tell that like that's definitely like a computer assisted thing. It looks different from the rest of the movie. When they start running down the face of that cliff, that looks like the cliff kind of looks CGI a little bit. But but I
My
don't
buddy
know,
and I
man.
watch Attack on Titan together, which is an anime, and most of it is all hand drawn, but there's a decent amount of CG stuff in there. And every time we see something that's CG, we go CG wheel, CG flag, CG horse, and point it out. And I literally had that moment watching this where I was like, CG wildebeest.
See, that was the thing. I don't know if the wildebeests were CG or not. That's what I'm trying to think of. If they just like put them on top of a CG environment. So, that one, like I'm flagging it, but I definitely noticed CG in that scene for sure. Number 3, Rowan Atkinson is fantastic as Zazu. They could not have picked a more perfect person for that. I will say that like I have never watched the full movie of the 2019 Lion King. But if you're going to recast Rowan Atkinson, like John Oliver is actually pretty good casting for the voice of Zazu. He just reminds me of an annoying, dodo or whatever it was, parrot.
The casting of birds in the 90s was pretty top notch because Gilbert Gottfried in Aladdin is incredible.
I just love that they're like, okay, we're in like Saudi Arabia. Who should play this bird? Gilbert Gottfried.
Give me the role.
Okay, so that kind of leaves number 1. I just don't believe that every single lion roar was done by a human being. That I maybe it was, but I'm gonna put my eggs in that basket. I'm gonna say number 1 is the falsehood, Brad.
Bob, I was hoping you'd pick that because that is the first fact on the IMDb page.
What? Is it really?
That one is true. Yeah, it's 100%
Wow.
true. And I am telling you, I immediately went on YouTube and typed in Frank Welker Lion King. It is the most psychotic thing I've ever seen. This man is literally screaming into like a tin, like silver metal trash can and like holding a tambourine looking thing. And he's like angrily screaming into it. And it sounds exactly like a real lion.
That's crazy, dude.
It's literally one of the most bonkers things I've ever seen. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm going to get Bob with this.
Yeah, and you did. I was like, there's no way. Okay, so what is the falsehood?
Yeah. Number 3 was the falsehood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nothing about Chris
They must
Rock.
have had him pegged from the beginning.
Yeah. Atkinson very obviously is the perfect casting.
It's so funny because he's such a good voice actor, and his most famous character is basically a silent movie character, you know?
Yep. Yeah. No, I will say, I think Mr. Bean is one of the greatest comedic characters ever created in the history of comedy, film, television. Like anything he did, he is absolutely perfect in.
Well, speaking of super hilarious things, we're going to segue back into the death of Mufasa, perhaps the most crushing thing ever to be hoisted upon children.
I laughed pretty hard. The only thing funnier in the movie than that is when Simba thinks that it was his fault.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gaslighting. Am I right? Let's talk real quick about the stampede scene, the death of Mufasa. I think this is another one of those areas where their ability to kind of animate like dust clouds is really, really well done in this scene, because there's a shot. It's right after Mufasa jumps out of the herd of wildebeest, and you get that shot of him struggling to get up the rock and try to hold on. And then it cuts back to like an over the shoulder of Simba looking, and between him and his dad trying to climb up the face of this cliff there's this cloud of dust obscuring everything. And it's like there's so much visual information going on in that shot. And I just have to say again, if we can consider that an action sequence, the geography of that space is so well done. Like, they lay the whole thing out for you. They show you where the wildebeest are. They show you how they get, goaded into stampeding. But even things like the direction of everything moving left to right, and then Mufasa has to go down among them, and then he gets to the end and turns around and comes back, and now everything's moving right to left or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, whichever direction. It's just so well done that it's a chaotic sequence, but it's never incoherent.
And the way that they end it, where when Simba's looking for his dad and the one wildebeest kind of pops up out of the smoke and runs past him, which gives you that perfect, like, you're watching something and then you're like, oh crap. And then you see the broken branch that Simba had been on and his dad lying just corpse-like underneath it. It's chilling, dude. It's so well done.
I don't remember watching Bambi as a kid. I don't know if my parents ever showed it to me. And, all I'd ever heard was like, Bambi's mom, Bambi's mom. I watched Bambi as an adult. First of all, incredible movie. You don't see Bambi's mom die. You hear a gunshot and then like they can't find Bambi's mom. And that's it, dude. This movie goes so much further. And like arguably further than it should. This movie is like deeply fucked up for like 5 minutes there. Where you see a dead body. The kid is trying to get his dad to wake up and like, we got to go home. And then realizing not only is my dad dead, I'm scared and we're alone here. And like cuddling up to him because he doesn't know what else to do. Heartbreaking. And then the most screwed up thing is like, you don't even get time as a viewer to truly grieve Mufasa before Scar is right there again. And the first thing he says is Simba.
Dude, the way he appears out of the smoke.
Oh, it's
just like
so
looking
good.
down at him. Oh.
And he says, Simba, what have you done? And it's like, in lieu of being able to actually kill him, now I can leverage this against him. And the second that he says, the fact remains, the king is dead, and he'd still be alive if it wasn't for you. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like this movie is like psychologically screwed up. It is like one of the more twisted psychological thrillers I've ever seen.
Ever. So one of the things that we talk about at my job, the company I work for, is that darkness and evil is always seeking to twist things against you, that it's always seeking to give you the worst version of something to believe. And I don't know if I've ever seen a better illustration of that than when Scar walks up to him afterwards and does all the things you just said. Like the amount of gaslighting that he does to get Simba to believe this lie at the core of his being, that I am a murderer. I not only am a murderer, but I killed my father, the person I look up to more than anything else in the world. Like, tell me that people aren't walking around this planet believing lies about themselves to be true, and those lies that they believe about themselves lead them to become a person that they were never intended to be.
Yeah.
The same way that, he becomes going off and eating grubs, and like, it's wild how accurate this movie displays that reality that is so true for so many people on this planet.
Man, I hate to like even have to segue out of that. Good point. Well taken, Brad. Enjoy your moment for a hot second. We do need to talk about the back half of this movie, because it is, I think...
do we, though?
I just think it's weaker than the first half. I think that kind of goes without saying, but I have come around on it in the fact that it's like the Timon and Pumbaa stuff only really suffers from the fact that it's like an 8 out of 10 movie and the rest of the movie around it is a 10 out of 10 movie. And so it's kind of unfair because the comedy works. I do think they could have done with like 2 or 3 less pop culture jokes. Because like, how do you know how to do the hula in the African savannah, you know?
In drag.
Right, exactly. Like, how do you know quotes from the movie In the Heat of the Night? I don't understand. Where are you watching these films, Pumbaa?
Is that the You Can Call Me Mr. Pig?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea what that was.
We'll watch that movie someday. It's a great movie. But, and also, if you see that line in context, then you'll be like, why are they making fun of that line in The Lion King? So, anyway, all that to say, like...
I will say, in our household, the song that Timon sings, "Are you aching for some bacon?" That, like, we sing that song at least once a week in our house.
That's funny. I mean, listen, as hulas go, it's a good one. It just is
an incredible one.
A very wrong part of the globe to be doing that.
Bob, here's the deal. You can be a big pig too. Huh.
So, you know, it's funny because, like, I still don't think this movie has really any fat on it, but there is just something about the fact that you go from a 10 to an 8 pretty quickly, that after Hakuna Matata, when Nala shows up, it's all, like, plot. Like, everything there is essential to the movie, but it's kind of like if you need to take a pee break, you really can right there. You can come back 5 minutes later, and it's still, you know, because then Rafiki's like, hey, come follow me through 18 twisted jungles until we can see your reflection,
dude.
That scene is, again, the scene is good, but it's not.
When he smacks him in the head and then Simba gets mad at him and he goes, "Why does it matter? It's in the past." Come on, dude.
Oh, it's great.
And then Simba goes, "But it still hurts." And I'm like, oh, it's so good, man.
You can either learn from it, right? Run from it, or learn from it. Rafiki's great.
Oh, dude. It's probably the best advice Disney has ever given in a movie.
Here's another hot take. So Simba did not recognize Rafiki. He had no idea who Rafiki was when Rafiki shows up. Now, Rafiki is like the shaman of this village. Like, Rafiki is their spiritual leader, which goes to tell me that Mufasa was raising his sons in a godless home apart from the presence of Rafiki. Perhaps the reason that bad things happened to Mufasa is the lack of a spiritual moral compass.
Yeah. He needs those good Judeo-Christian values in the home.
As evidenced by the baboon Rafiki. Sure.
Yes.
So once Simba decides to go back and they have that great shot of him running across the entire, Sahara Desert to get back to Pride Rock, the movie really picks up again. And the final fight is great. But, dude, there are moments in animation, and I don't mean this as a slight to animation, because animation is a very legitimate art form. The moment that Simba walks back up the rock when Rafiki says, "It is time," and then you get the Hans Zimmer score with the two big da-da-ba-da-da-da in slow motion. I forgot that I was watching a cartoon. It is one of the most affecting, triumphant, truly epic scenes in the history of cinema. And it ends that movie on such a high note that it's like, I don't care about any complaints I had before this. It is perfect movie making.
It's incredible, man. There's even a moment during the final fight where you hear Inception in the music. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice it, but I was going to say, how early did Hans Zimmer start stealing his scores from all of his interns? Like, was this actually written by somebody else, or is this a Hans classic?
I mean, at this point, I assume that not much of it is.
Right.
Which makes me sad, because, like, it was fun having another, like, legendary composer in the world other than John Williams. And then, he just kind of sucks. But still gave us some incredible music, even if it was his interns.
Right.
The final shot of this movie, once again, you return to the beauty of that opening montage. And all of a sudden, you have another final drum beat, cut to black, red Lion King logo. It's just an incredible, like, the movie is the circle of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the beauty of what it means to become an adult in a dark and dangerous world and to fight for something that you believe in. And I think that we need more movies like 1994 Lion King in the world today, because it teaches you all about the things that are important about being a human being in this world. It's just, it's so good. And you're right, man. That final scene when he's coming out and Rafiki's holding his child out that looks like they ran out of money, so they just reused baby Simba. It's so good, man.
All right, dude, I think that is the perfect segue to get into our last segment of the day, which we call Let's Make It a Double.
We're near the end of the episode, so thanks for listening to the Film and Whiskey Show. Let's pair another film with this one, even if it's a struggle. It's our final segment of the day, now let's make it a double.
Let's Make It a Double is the part of the show where we pick a movie to pair up with this one to make the perfect double feature. Brad, I'm still trying to pinpoint exactly what my Let's Make It a Double should be. So I'm going to throw to you first. Please vamp while I decide my choice.
Bob, if you're looking for a movie that leads you into the darkness, that gives you no hope for a future, that is traumatizing to young children, there are no other choices for Let's Make It a Double than 1988's The Land Before Time.
Oh. A truly devastating film.
I mean, if the focus of this episode for us has been, man, this movie's way darker than I remembered, let's go watch Land Before Time, my dude.
What do you actually remember from that movie, besides just the mom dying?
I remember the mom dying. I remember them walking across, like, a tar swamp.
Mm-hmm.
That like, sticks out really strongly to me. And I think just the characters, like Littlefoot and the Triceratops, and is there a pterodactyl that travels with them?
Yeah, Ducky,
yeah. So, like, I think, like, just the characters, the tar swamp, and the mom dying. Those are, like, the only things I remember from that movie.
What's the name of the little Triceratops? I can't remember. Maybe that's not Ducky. I don't know.
No, Ducky's the...
There's, like, a very specific way that they animate that Triceratops that, like, every now and then I'll see, like, a little kid who has that kind of, like, blank, dumb stare on their face. And I'm like that kid looks
Bob,
exactly like the Triceratops.
That child is made in the image of God.
That child is loved by his or her mother so much. Tell me that you don't know exactly what I'm talking about. And they've got the little triangular lip thing that comes down too, and they're just like, oh. Yeah, dude, it's that kid looks just like the Triceratops. I'm telling you, I see it all the time.
Bob's doing his best efforts to get us canceled. Let's move on from disparaging people's children, which I will not partake in, publicly at least, and get to your Let's Make It a Double.
It might be because I've watched this movie recently, but, you know, there's a ton of animated movies I could pair this up with. There's something about the sort of, like, weightiness of regal responsibility in this movie. Like, the idea of stepping into your role and, like, having to fulfill something that is not just a governmental responsibility, but, like, ordained by the spirits or God or whatever that movie is giving you. And I think the only movie that I can really think of right now that goes really well with that is the first Black Panther, where you get the great scenes on the ancestral plane. You get the idea of going to visit your ancestors, communicating with your ancestors. You know, Killmonger can't visit the ancestral plane because he's, like, forfeited his right to do that. And I think that, like, there's something there in the connection between remembering who you are, living up to who you are by birth and your own regal kind of responsibilities and birthright, that I think you could do a heck of a lot worse than The Lion King and Black Panther.
Yeah, great pairing, man. I'm going to stick with Land Before Time, but you do you, man.
All right, dude, it is time for some final scores on this movie. Brad, is this a 9.5 or a 10? I think that's really the only two options we have here.
I think it's a 9.5. I adore this movie. I think the messaging is great. I think there's so much to love here. But there are some flaws that keep me from vibing this all the way to a 10.
It definitely is flawed. There are like little things that bother me. Like in the last fight with Scar, the weird, crappy, like jittery slow motion that they do for 11 seconds straight. Just like, why did you do this? Why are they standing up and like boxing each other? This is not how lions fight, dude.
It's like an old-timey English, like...
So the first time we reviewed this movie, I gave it a 9.5. You gave it a 10. And we came out to a 9.75. I was already leaning towards 10. I think it would be the most appropriate thing here for us to just reverse roles on this one. Yeah. Because a 9.75, a 97 out of 100 is like the perfect place for this. It is a transcendently great movie that just happens to have a couple flaws.
Mm-hmm. I think if you were like scoring out point by point the way we do whiskey, like this would end up in that 95 to 98 area. It wouldn't be right there at the top. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think 9.75 is a good combined score between the two of us.
All right, there you have it. 9.75 out of 10 on average from Brad and Bob. But we want to know what you think. Do you still love The Lion King? Is Black Panther or The Land Before Time the better pairing here? You can let us know on all of our social media accounts: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Film Whiskey.
And if you have any children who are lovely and definitely do not have a blank expression on their face at all times, you should jump onto our Discord to tell Bob how cruel and mean and misogynistic he is. Join us on our Discord. You can find a link to it at the end of every single one of our show notes.
Next week, we're staying in 1994 to look at what is arguably the best film of that year that isn't called The Lion King. It's Quentin Tarantino's all-time masterpiece, Pulp Fiction. Ooh. So join us as we revisit that movie. But until then, I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And we'll see you next time.